Thank you very much. Why do we think? Sometimes we think, because this is a thinking point, why do we think? Sometimes we think because we see something for the first time. Sometimes we think because we see something in a different way. And sometimes we think because we've forgotten to see something. Now, I'm from EUMETSAT and I'm going to talk about the weather. And to some extent, we all know about what the weather does. We know about severe weather events. We know about spoiled picnics. But actually, we don't really understand how massively significant weather is. It impacts almost every aspect of our life, from the trivial to the serious. It impacts on, well, we all know about severe weather events, but it impacts on the spread of diseases. It impacts on footfall in shops. It's a critical issue for military activities. It can be critical for global security issues. It affects absolutely everything. It's so important. To try and put that in context, the World Economic Forum every year do an assessment of their members and ask what their members think are the biggest risks their countries face over 2 years and 10 years. And this year, and it's the same virtually every year, over 2 years, 2 of the risks are weather and climate related. And over 10 years, 5 of the risks are weather and climate related. The European Environment Agency have estimated that between 1980 and 2020, severe weather events cost the European economy over 500 billion and caused the loss of up to 140,000 lives. In the US last year, there were 19 weather events with an impact of more than $1 billion, with a total cost to the US economy of $70 billion. That's largely looking back. And then you consider climate change and what's happening. Well, we're all aware of this. But again, if you look at a European Environment Agency report, between the end of last year and the beginning of this, average global temperatures were 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial averages. The previous 12 months from May 24 of this year, each of those months was record-breaking. Weather and climate events last year cost Europe over 13 billion euros. 1.6 million people were affected by floods, 36,000 by wildfires, and 500,000 by storms. And that illustrates an interesting point, that climate impacts in so many different ways in different places. But the underlying point is that it stresses our infrastructure, it stresses our society, it stresses everything about our countries and our societies. And as climate change proceeds, and as the atmosphere becomes more energetic, the severe weather events that we see so often will become more intense and more frequent. And that is why, if you look at the impact of weather and climate services in Europe, they contribute between 50 and 60 billion of euros every year to European economy. Now, you may be going, well, that's quite interesting. Some of that we knew. What's that got to do with a space conference? Well, if you look at, as one measure, if you look at numerical weather prediction, so these are the large computer models that predict the weather, currently about 70% of their accuracy, 70%, is derived from space-based observations. And that is increasing and increasing dramatically. So space and space observations play an absolutely massive role in something that's incredibly important and becoming increasingly important to our society. And that is why the role of EUMETSAT and other organizations like us are so important. We, working with our user community, the people who use our data, weather services and weather companies, we work with them to provide them with data. We understand their needs, and understanding their needs, we work particularly with the European Space Agency to specify and develop programs of missions that provide the right information to help people make decisions that mitigate the impacts of severe weather and climate change. And that's why what we do is so important and so exciting. Now, we're in the process of upgrading to our next generation of satellites. And our core satellites are both geostationary and LEO. So we launched the first of our geostationary missions in December 2022. And this hosted a Lightning imager and a high resolution imager. The Lightning imager is unique over Europe. And soon we'll be launching another imager and something called an infrared sounder, which takes a profile through the depth of the atmosphere. These instruments are crucially important in predicting at very short range, very intense events, the sorts of events that cause flash flooding and impact on so many people. The reason this is important is these very intense events are very hard to predict using forecast models. And the only way really you can pinpoint their location and intensity is through satellites. The next generation of our LEO satellites will be launching hopefully next year. METOP second generation. This will have a revolutionary impact on the quality of longer term forecasts. There'll be 2 satellites carrying a wide range of instruments. And this has, as I said, this has an impact on longer term forecasts, allowing longer term planning. Now, both the LEO and GEO satellites will secure the provision of data to Europe until the 2040s, hopefully. But we're already looking to the future and thinking about new opportunities and new missions. So already looking and piloting the purchasing of data from private sector providers and putting that into an operational environment. And the operational environment is important. If you're providing services, providing data that supports services that protect life and property, the data always has to be there and it has to be reliable. So the operational element of what we do is really important. In addition to that, we're looking at new programs, one of which is a follow-on from the ESA Arctic Weather Satellite program that will be launched soon. So we're looking to implement a constellation of satellites, a constellation of small satellites, which is quite different for us, that will provide really massive increases in forecast accuracy. The increases in forecast accuracy are so big that when we've assessed the return on investment for the Sterna program, what we come out with is over 50 to 1. So a return on investment of 50 to 1. I've seen public sector bodies make major investments with far worse ratios than that. But this is how we are looking to the future and looking to the new developments in the space segment. In addition to that, in the next few years, we'll be enhancing our role in operating a number of Copernicus satellites, continuing to operate Sentinel-3 and 6, launching and operating Sentinel-4 and 5, as well as operating carbon dioxide monitoring satellite CO2M, and also having roles in SIMA and Crystal. As part of this same agreement with the European Commission, we'll also operate the Wikios system, which is a data platform allowing access, easy access to a wide range of Copernicus data to support users in their applications. Now, this illustrates an important point, a thinking point, if you like. But I think increasingly we have to view satellites and satellite systems as part of an integrated digital infrastructure. And for us, increasingly over recent years, making data available through a mechanism and through a system that's appropriate for its use has become incredibly important. And we've worked in this in a number of respects. We've developed our own big data services, but we've also worked with the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasts to develop something called the European Weather Cloud, which is a cloud-based system allowing institutional users to access our satellite data, but importantly, to have a sandbox environment where they can work together on applications and new services. Because we've developed a strength in data management, we've also become a partner in another European Commission project, Destination Earth, which was formally launched in Kyane a couple of weeks ago. For that, which is a partnership with the European Space Agency and ECMWF, we're responsible for the data lake, which is the underpinning repository of data from satellite observations, Copernicus data, model output, that allows the synthesis and exploitation of all of these data, and really will be incredibly important in ensuring that all the data that is available to our societies has maximum impact. At this point, I think I have to mention AI. I think there's a rule at the moment, you can't give a presentation without referencing AI and machine learning. AI and machine learning is absolutely having an astonishing impact in weather and wider environmental prediction. AI systems are outperforming traditional numerical weather systems that have taken decades of research to develop. And in a few years, AI is outperforming them. AI techniques allow much better utilization of Earth observing data. They allow satellite data to synthesize all sorts of other products in a way that we've had before, and it's an incredibly exciting time. And if you bring all of that together, I think the situation that I think we and others find ourselves in now is we are in a situation of tremendous opportunity and tremendous challenge. The further exploitation of cloud, the penetration of AI and machine learning, developments in new space, opportunities through the commercial sector, they are challenging for organizations like us, but they are an enormous opportunity. On the other side of that, expectations from society about weather and climate services continue to rise. And the developing climate crisis is only going to create more pressure on organizations like us and other service providers to provide better and better services. But dealing with all of these things is a huge challenge. Now, the success we've had as an organization so far has been through collaboration and partnership, notably with ESA, with industry, with our users and the user community. And frankly, I think this is something that European organizations across the board do well, do better than anyone else. And I think the future for us as a community and EUMETSAT as an organization is a tightly integrated, well-aligned ecosystem with a very strong focus on users and applications. So that's enough thinking points for today. Thank you.